Company of Heroes 3 is an RTS strategy game with 4 distinct factions, each with their own strengths and weaknesses. And today, we're going to look at what most consider to be the weakest faction among the 4. The Americans are very potent in the late game, but to get there, you need a build that's both budget-friendly and efficient. And for that, I would recommend the Pathfinder build. With me today to explore this option is a very good friend of mine, Rifle.
Hello, I'm Rifle. I am the unpaid editor of Greyshot production.
He and I are going to be going over the Airborne opening that I would recommend to play in Company of Heroes 3. So Rifle, if you could please give me your thoughts on why the Americans are definitely the weakest faction in Company of Heroes 3.
The American faction being the weakest faction right now is mainly because of how the teching works. Say if you want to go Rifleman build into late game, they are not really efficient to do that because in order for the Rifleman to be strong, you have to get the grenade and BARs, which cost 65 fuel. So essentially you're delaying your anti-tank so you can get your Rifleman being somewhat better on the field.
That makes sense. Combination is very expensive, but that's the bright side of this Pathfinder opening, is that you are going to be avoiding munitions and fuel when it comes to upteching. Now to open with the Pathfinders, what you want to do is select the Airborne Battlegroup. Instantly click the Pathfinder and reinforce your initial scout squad to 4 models. You want to build 2 more Pathfinder squads. And then you can either choose 4th Pathfinder, you can go for the 2nd tier building to get an MG, and then you get the MG. You can do this in any order. It mainly comes down to your preference. If you're focusing on capping points and getting as much territory as possible, the 4th Pathfinder is an obvious advantage. If you're focusing against a lot of enemy infantry, the MG is great at locking down a point and giving your Pathfinders that one bit of extra edge. After you either get the 4th Pathfinder or you tier up to that 2nd tier building and you get the MG, go for a mechanized center. Afterward, you want to get a medical half-track so you can reinforce on the front line. Mix in 2 bazooka squads here and there when you can. Keep in mind you can get the Anti-Tank Gun drop that is available in this battle group on the right-hand side. It is worth 2 command points, and by this time you should have at least 4 command points, hopefully. And that could help you a bit since you are skipping the Tier 3 building. So again, avoid the Tier 3 building. Do not go for it because you want to put that fuel to your Shermans. So, rush for the final building, get a Sherman, and then upgrade for the 76mm upgrade for said Sherman. Make sure you also get an engineer when you can, and be careful when you're using your flares and smoke grenades. Now, the bright side of the Pathfinders, they are quite potent. They are excellent long-range infantry. Their flares are free, the smoke is free, and their 35 mission grade ability is also fantastic. But it does take a long time to get back those flares and smoke. Luckily, on the bright side, you have 4 units, so you don't have to be too conservative when using these specials. Now, Rifle, what would you say is the main point of this build? And what are you really harping on for doing this instead of, let's say, Rifleman?
The main selling point of Pathfinder is obviously grenade and smoke, and have vision naturally by having Pathfinders. You also have flares, and you have capture rate. Also, you can get around 3 Pathfinder squad before a Rifleman, so you can really rush the cap point and get the early game advantage quicker.
Yeah, this really is a case of you want to go for the Sherman. You would agree the Sherman is like the best unit in the game, right? Or maybe not the best unit in the game, but one of the best tanks in the game.
Yeah, I would say so.
A big note is you're probably asking, well, why would you want to spend 50 fuel on the upgrade compared to just getting a 2nd Sherman? Would you want to explain that for specifically the anti-infantry capabilities?
Of course. So medium tank in the game right now have a cap on how many models that they can damage, which is free. By getting the 776, not only you up your anti-tank department, you also increase the maximum damage cap to 4, which means compared to a Sherman 75, Sherman 76 is a way better at killing infantry.
Yeah, that I would completely agree with that. They are potent, and once you get 2 or 3 Sherman 76s, the enemy is going to be put in a tough spot. You're really just using what the Americans do best, compared to my previous option with the Luftwaffe opening, which was explaining something to maximize the potency of emplacements. Here, you want to maximize the potency of your armor, and you will if you get multiple Shermans on the field. So in regards to this opening, do you have any final thoughts or closing remarks, Rifle?
One of the things that I would recommend people to try to slot in whenever they can is an every AA half-track. The AA half-track right now is single-handedly is the best AA in the game, and it is your sole counter for any Stuka loader that the enemy might call in. They can shut down any Stuka loader before they can even do a single run. and they can also be a very powerful mobile suppression platform. So whenever you can, get that unit.
Excellent recommendation, Rifle. I guess while we're on the topic of the Americans broadly, for the Airborne Battlegroup, I would also be amiss not to point out the awesome additions that you get if you go on the left side of the tree. We've mostly focused on the right, involving the Pathfinders, your ability to get paratroopers, and the AT that is available with 2 command points. On the left-hand side, I would definitely recommend the Reconnaissance, since your Pathfinders do have a smoke ability. I'd also recommend the supply drop on the left-hand side to assist your teammates. And finally, of the two, while I do love a anti-tank strike, my heart does go to the bombing that can be absolutely devastating when the enemy does not see it coming. The AA half-track and these additions are going to make your opening powerful. And again, if you need to late game, we do recommend shifting away from the Pathfinders as you lose them and moving over to better trained infantry, most likely paratroopers, maybe even riflemen, if you have the fuel to spare to upgrade them to bars. My recommendation personally would be avoid riflemen, just grab paratroopers and get another 76mm Sherman. The enemy will hate you more later. In closing, that's why you want to open with the Airborne Battlegroup of the Americans. It's definitely different. It's weird not going Riflemen as the Americans, but in this current meta, it's kind of what you're forced to until we get that next patch. Until Riflemen are actually viable, stay tuned on Greyshot Productions. A new How to Open will be available every Monday for the foreseeable future. Until then, I'm Greyshot151. With me today, Rifle.
As you haven't been paid, by the way.
Don't you worry, that check's in the mail. But yes, we'll see you all next time. Until then, catch y'all later.